Customers at the downtown Columbia post office are still struggling with parking. What we know about the future of the lot there. Plus, Columbia is getting brighter to increase safety. Flu season is here, and so are the vaccines. We'll tell you about the demand so far. This is KOMU 8 News at 10.
Coverage you can count on. KOMU 8 News starts now.
Customers of downtown Columbia's U.S. Postal Office will have to wait even longer to use the free parking lot. Good evening, everyone. I'm Emily Spain. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. In August, KOMU 8 reported the lot was closed for construction on the building and that it should have reopened by now. KOMU 8's Steffi Roche talked to construction workers about the progress of those repairs.
It's very frustrating. When you do come on a regular basis, you expect to get in and out.
On August 17th, the spokesperson for USPS said,
hopefully, worst case scenario, they're talking it should be open by October 1.
But that is clearly not the case.
Come to the post office, I actually have to park where it's metered, which is a little bit difficult. You know, I do have a handicap placard, so I was expecting the parking lot to actually be open.
The lot is still closed for construction.
We had to use the parking lot for a laydown yard for material, equipment, because the wall of the post office was actually heaving in.
The structure posed a safety concern due to cracks in the wall, and
the wall was actually starting to push in about 5 foot up in towards the building.
Customers are used to tracking their packages.
I certainly wish they could build it faster.
But this time, knowing the date of completion isn't something a tracking number can predict.
I hope it'll reopen soon. I think it's important for the post office and for the community.
That was KOMU 8's Steffi Roche reporting. KOMU 8 News contacted the spokesperson from the U.S. Postal Service to get more information, but we did not hear back. Also in downtown Columbia, the city of Columbia has a few ideas for lighting there. In total, the city plans to install about 94 new streetlights that it says will improve safety for both businesses and consumers. KOMU 8's Ethan Becker tells us more about that project.
Emily, behind me you can see the streetlights of Columbia's past and future. The old bulbs of orange light are being replaced by the new LED lights with adjustable brightness. Only the Columbia Police Department will have the ability to adjust the new streetlights. This will occur if a crowd needs to be dispersed or if an incident happens nearby. The City of Columbia and the Downtown District have been working on this project for 5 years, and one business manager says he has already seen the new lights make an impact.
Just not a whole lot of conflict since the lights have been implemented. They have the industrial lights over there. They turn those on at 10 or so during the weekend. So I feel like it kind of makes people straighten up their act.
Now, not all of the 94 streetlights are currently up at the moment. More will be installed in the coming weeks. Reporting in downtown Columbia, Ethan Becker, KOMU 8 News.
More affordable housing is coming to Columbia. The Housing Authority has plans to build more homes like these to house low-income families. KOMU 8's Cole Banker joins us here in the studio to tell us about one of these projects. Cole.
Yeah, Emily, the Kinney Point Affordable Housing Development will bring 24 new housing units to low-income families, but the cost and limited supply of housing means fixing the lack of accessible low-income housing will take a lot more.
There just aren't enough units to meet the demand that's out there.
More than 1,000 households are waiting on affordable living in Columbia. The Columbia Housing Authority hopes to bring that number down.
We have a significant demand for affordable housing. We have over 1,200 people or households on our wait list right now. We're seeing an increased demand, and we think Kinney Point will help us meet that demand.
But the supply just isn't there.
Housing just hasn't kept up with demand, and the cost of housing has increased greater than incomes.
This means that more people than ever are in need of low-income housing.
And really that threshold's getting higher and higher.
Oliveri says another concern is the National Housing Choice Voucher Program, which she says is critically underfunded and most qualifying families aren't able to get them. And even for those who do receive the vouchers, housing is not a guarantee.
Only 1/4 of the people who could use a housing choice voucher even ever get one. Then once they get one, then they have the obstacle of trying to find someone who will rent to them.
Right now in Columbia, there is no law explicitly requiring landowners to rent to people regardless of how they pay for rent. Meaning until the law is updated, projects like Kinney Point can only go so far.
There could still be a lot more. I think it'll help, but it's still, when we look at the amount of need, it's still just a fraction of that.
At the Columbia City Council meeting on Monday, the Columbia Human Rights Commission proposed to add a law that prohibits housing discrimination based on source of income. They told me that this is the first step toward making low-income housing as accessible as possible. In the studio, I'm Cole Banker, KMU8 News.
In August is now charged with first-degree murder for pushing a woman to her death off an overpass. Jesse Randall Williams is accused of killing Kaylin Schmidt. She was transported to University Hospital with severe injuries and died hours later. Court documents show she fell nearly 40 feet from that overpass near Clark Lane and North Highway 63. Responders say they found her in a wooded area. One witness said that Williams was, quote, 100% no doubt trying to kill her. A friend of Schmidt says she didn't deserve this.
Went through my last text messages with her, and the last thing she texted me was, tomorrow's my birthday. And I don't know, I wish I had responded or did something now.
Officers found Williams in the Sam's Club parking lot last night. Williams was just released on parole in August for stabbing a man in 2018. The City of Columbia is looking to move forward with the plan to purchase VFW Post 280. This post will be used as a homeless shelter this winter. Room at the Inn, a homeless shelter service, will be running its services here. The services had to bounce around to use different locations as a shelter in past years. A spokesperson for the city says this new building will be a good resource.
Following last winter, we utilized the Wabash bus station, and we know that that's not an optimal space for people to be staying in during those winter months. So we had already planned last year to come up with an alternative plan for this winter that's a safer, better, more comfortable option for those folks.
An informational meeting will be held at the Post next Monday from 4 to 6 p.m. The cost of the purchase is $865,000. We turn now to the aftermath of Hurricane Ian. Missouri Task Force 1 returned to Fort Myers Beach, Florida this morning to help with recovery efforts. Fortunately, yesterday, the team located the body of a victim with the help of trained dogs. This after inspecting more than 570 structures and piles of debris. CNN reports the death toll from Hurricane Ian has risen to at least 109 people. Also in Florida, President Biden surveyed the hurricane destruction in Fort Myers. He wanted to show his support and commitment to people recovering from the storm. He also met with small business owners who were affected and told people it will take time to recover and rebuild.
You got to start from scratch, got to move again. And it's going to take a lot of time, not weeks or months. It's going to take years for everything to get squared away in the state of Florida.
Recovery efforts will continue for the immediate future, of course. In Sanibel Island, Florida, people were able to return to their homes today. The bridge to that island, it was torn apart in 5 different spots. So right now, the only way to get there is by boat. The Sanibel mayor says the area is not livable at the moment. People are only allowed on that island from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. In world news tonight, U.S. officials suspect the death of a prominent Russian politician's daughter could widen the conflict between Russia and Ukraine. A car explosion killed the woman while she was driving her father's car in August. U.S. intelligence agencies believe her father was the intended target. They believe parts of the Ukrainian government authorized that attack. Ukraine, however, has denied those allegations. Meanwhile, Russian President Vladimir Putin signed laws officially claiming 4 Ukrainian regions into Russia. Putin carried out the move despite international laws and military struggles. Both houses of the Russian parliament ratified treaties for the Ukrainian territories earlier this week. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky announced a fast-track application to join NATO following Putin's actions. Coming up, flu season is here, and some Missourians are taking advantage of those vaccines. Plus, Boone Health is helping bring back more healthcare services in Mexico. Migrant boats sank in Greek waters. The Coast Guard reports those bodies were discovered after a boat carrying about 40 people sank. Another boat with 100 migrants sank about 100 miles away. At least 30 people have been rescued, but dozens are still missing. Back here in mid-Missouri, flu season is here and vaccines are becoming more readily available. KMU8's Audrey Dick-Herbers here in the studio to tell us where and what vaccines you can get right away.
Vaccines are available across mid-Missouri for both the flu and COVID-19, including the bivalent booster. Flo's Pharmacy says that they have been given over 500 bivalent boosters and over 1,000 flu shots so far this season. Around 100 doses of each vaccine were used just today. Columbia and Boone County Public Health and Human Services also hosted a vaccination clinic at Hallsville Intermediate School for the flu vaccine. Organizers there said they vaccinated around 60 people today. One parent says that deciding to get his daughters vaccinated was simple.
At the end of the day, it's everybody's responsibility to do it. It doesn't work if only a handful of people do it. You got to have a good portion of folks that are willing to get the shot, and that way it reduces the chance of the spread.
They will be hosting more clinics at different locations throughout the month. In the studio, Audrey Dickherber, KMU8 News.
We have an update for you tonight. Boone Health announced today it's reopening the former Noble Health Primary Care Clinic in Mexico. Noble Health closed its clinic and hospital operations back in March because of financial issues. The hospital is still closed, but now Boone Health will have 2 clinics in Mexico. Its chief medical officer says it's important to continue healthcare services for the community there.
We were partnering with the Audrain County leaders for, from the get.
A school district in Eugene was just one of the schools to receive the extra money to help teachers who make less than $38,000. Eugene is in Cole County. Today, Governor Parson and the DESE commissioner toured the schools and celebrated the grant. The grant covers 70% of the pay raise, and school districts are responsible for the other 30%. Cole County R5 school superintendent says the school was lucky to have that money in its budget.
We just looked at within our budget, whether we could afford to make our 30% in terms of supporting the grant with the state. And, we definitely saw it as a great opportunity for our teachers.
DESE says the grant and pay increase is just the first step. The state's goal is to find more ways to increase teacher recruitment and retention. There. Hey, Ben, the Friday Night Fever forecast keep getting colder.
Yeah, football weather will be at Harrisburg. We'll be live there. We'll have highlights from 15-plus games like we always do. Rockbridge has a chance to wrap up the conference championship this Friday. One of several stories we'll be following for KMU8's Friday Night Fever.